May 14, the Senate Banking Committee voted 15 to 9 to advance the Clarity Act. And somewhere between right now and the end of this week, the SEC is expected to release a rule almost nobody in crypto media is actually properly covering. The regulatory key that lets $30 trillion in US equity onto crypto rails is known as the innovation exemption. Tokenized stocks and ETFs have ripped to a combined market value reportedly approaching $1 billion. BlackRock's bid now has $2.5 billion in assets, and in July, DTCC, which settles $4.7 quadrillion in annual transactions, launches its tokenization service. But the truly extraordinary part is the legal fight happening behind closed doors right now between Securitize, Citadel, and SIFMA over a single question that determines who actually captures this entire trade. So, in the next 15 minutes, I'll walk you through exactly what the innovation exemption does. Dismantle the third-party tokenization landmine that nobody is pricing in, and lay out which tokens are positioned for the flow when the floodgates open. You're watching the Coin Bureau. And I'm Louis. Now, before we get into the contrarian core, you need the terrain map because this regulatory chessboard moving right now has 3 pieces in place simultaneously and they all interact. Piece 1 is the SEC innovation exemption itself. Put simply, it's a regulatory sandbox that lets crypto-native platforms list and trade tokenized versions of stocks, bonds, and private equity without forcing them through full broker-dealer or exchange registration. Chair Paul Atkins teased it at the Economic Club of Washington on April 21, saying the SEC is, in his words, on the cusp of releasing an innovation exemption to begin facilitating the trading of tokenized securities on-chain. The rule is currently sitting at the Office of Information and Regulatory Affairs inside the White House for final review, and that review window is closing this week. Piece 2 is the Clarity Act, which, as I just mentioned, cleared Senate banking 15 to 9 on May 14 with all 13 Republicans plus Senators Gallo and also Brooks voting yes. That bill splits jurisdiction between the SEC and the CFTC, codifies Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and XRP as digital commodities, and creates new ATS license categories that dovetail directly with the innovation exemption. Piece 3 is the DTCC's tokenization service. Operating under a 3-year no-action letter granted in December of 2025 with limited production trades starting in July and full commercial launch in October. Stack those 3 together and what you have is a fully loaded runway where the exemption is the throttle, Clarity is the legal flow, and DTCC is the actual settlement plumbing. Which brings us directly to the part most coverage gets wrong. The infrastructure is already live. Nasdaq received SEC approval in March to trade tokenized versions of Russell 1000 stocks and ETPs on the same order books as traditional shares with T+1 settlement preserved. NYSE got its own approval in April for a 247 on-chain settlement platform, and they tapped Securitize to build it. In June 2025, Robinhood introduced tokenized US stocks to Europe and is currently developing a Layer 2 specifically for RWAs. By February, Kraken's XST stocks product, which was developed as a result of their acquisitions of Bakkt Finance and Magna, had processed more than $2 billion in simultaneous transactions. It is now integrated with platforms such as Bybitgate.io and Deutsche Börse's 360x Venue,